Hi, I'm Charlotte Mayor Anthony Foxx, and welcome to The Point. We've got a very exciting segment here today with Steve Partridge, who is the Executive Director of Charlotte Works. Steve, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here, and tell everyone what Charlotte Works is about.
Sure. Charlotte Works is basically the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Workforce Development Board. There's a workforce board in every community across the country, and basically it's to help people get back to work. We do resume writing, workshops, coaching one-on-one, anything necessary to help someone prep to get back to work, including training dollars to help them go back to school if they have a skill gap that we need to correct.
What kinds of things does Charlotte Works do, in terms of what your work is on a daily basis?
On a macro level, we're really trying to make sure Charlotte has the workforce to succeed. So we work very closely with employers, companies in advanced manufacturing, the energy sector, healthcare, to find out not only what they need immediately for a hire, but over the next 5 years. And so we take that information and try to create that intelligence to give back to the job seeker. Because that's the big question everyone asks is, who's hiring and what do you need to get your foot in the door? You
say that you go to the employers and seek to know what the employers need long term. Is that different than how workforce development has been done in the past?
It's different than what we used to do. I think workforce boards across the country are guilty somewhat of kind of being very passive and waiting for employers to come to them looking for talent. And when unemployment was low, it was, they created their own opportunities to go find the best people out in the marketplace. But as the economy softened, we've really decided to work with employers to make sure long-term their needs are met. And so is it different? Yeah, I think we talked about creating a demand-driven system for a long time, but we were never really effective at it.
The president mentioned a relationship between Siemens Corporation, Central Piedmont Community College in his State of the Union address. And I know that you're often working with CPCC and our business communities. Can you talk about the partnerships that exist there?
Sure. The Siemens example is a good one. When they first decided they were going to expand, they started working with CP to really find out what training needs were necessary, and they realized staffing up 1,000 people in a very short time is difficult to do for any size company. And so they approached us, and we decided to work with them to find out how we could pre-screen all these applicants. And so we created a web portal for them. We didn't come in with a one-size-fits-all. We listened to what their needs were. The portal was somewhat unique, and over 10,000 people applied to the site. We got a lot of good data about these individuals applying, and then Siemens could look at the best of the best. We could screen people. We could test them to make sure when they say they can read blueprints, they really could. And so it was a great partnership with the community college. The woman actually sitting next to the First Lady that night at the State of the Union was hired through our database. And so it's a great opportunity to show that government, private sector working together to create jobs.
Tell me this, one of the things about workforce development that's not often understood is how do the employers find you to even give you the information about the workforce of the future?
That's a tricky one. When you're dealing with federal dollars and it's most of our funding, you don't like to see a big marketing budget in there. It's a lot of word of mouth. It shows like this. It's really getting the word out that we can help the job seeker, but we have a lot of services to help employers, especially the small employers who don't have HR departments or recruiters. So if they come to us and say, I'm looking for a new accountant, we can search our database. We have almost 7,000 people in our database. We've got other resources that we can do to help them find the top talent.
So you're on the front lines of trying to get Charlotte reemployed. Where are you seeing most of the opportunities these days?
We're seeing a lot in advanced manufacturing. We get calls every week from companies wanting to expand here in Charlotte, but jobs like machinists, CNC operators, welders, we struggle to find those folks. And so we're working a lot with our youth to talk about where the opportunities are over the next decade. But it's sometimes hard to get people who already have maybe invested a lot in their career to make a big career switch. You take a ex-banker and tell them there's jobs in advanced manufacturing, and sometimes that's not something they want to commit to. But you see a lot in healthcare. IT is also very much growing because that's not just its own field, it cuts across every industry.
Let's talk about youth for a second. One of the innovations that our Workforce Development Board has made in recent years is starting a youth council. Tell me about what a youth council is.
Sure.
What does it actually do?
Under the Workforce Investment Act, a third of our funding really is to help disadvantaged or at-risk youth. And what we're trying to do is either keep them in school, or if they've dropped out of school, get them back into some sort of schooling like post-secondary or into a job. And not just a job that's a dead-end job, because I think that's what often drives kids to drop out of school. They don't see a lot of opportunity. And so our youth council, it's mandated in the law that we have a youth council, but most people do it to check a box. That we have a few people sitting around the table talking about youth. We really wanted to have employers around the table and the providers talking about how we serve youth long term. And so that's different, and the piece is giving them that opportunity, whether it's an internship, to learn about what work is, and really give them some excitement and sort of some opportunity to see potential in a job.
So, you know, for a young person who gets an opportunity through the Workforce Development Board, what kinds of practical opportunities have we created?
You know, we're big on internships, so what we're starting to see a lot more of, and what we hope to launch in 2013, is a new web portal for businesses to really talk about, if they are looking for an internship, learn about it. Because what we don't do a good job is a lot of groups, CMS, the YMCA, Charlotte Works, even the Mayor's Youth Employment Council, has a lot of resources to help teens get jobs, but employers who are interested in maybe offering an internship aren't sure where to go. So we're talking about creating one portal that everyone can go to and learn about different opportunities. It also allows us to track it in one centralized space, and so that's one of our big goals for 2013, is to get more employers engaged.
What are we not doing in workforce development that you'd like to see us do?
I think workforce development, has the stigma around unemployment. That really, that when you lose your job, you think about, I need to get back to work, I better contact my workforce board. And I think we need to change the mindset in workforce development. You know, people are going to have, they say, 7 to 8 careers over their lifetime. People need to think long term, and we want to be a partner here in Charlotte to help anyone, whether it's salary negotiations for your next promotion, whether it's making sure you've got the skills to be employable in the future or get that next promotion. So it's not about reaching out to Charlotte Works when I need them, it's about when I don't need them. And because every time we meet with a company that's expanding in Charlotte, they ask a lot of questions about, do we have these type of skill sets? And if we only have a snapshot of those that are unemployed at that given moment, it's not a full picture of the talent we have across our community.
You know, you were involved in ProNet, which was an initiative that followed the Great Recession to try to get white-collar workers retooled, retrained, and back on their feet. What is life like on the front lines now? Are we still seeing dramatic unemployment? Are we still seeing dramatically high numbers of white-collar workers seeking work? What is the state of unemployment right now?
I mean, we're still seeing numbers that are pretty high out there. I mean, even though our numbers have been falling here in the county, it is misleading somewhat because you still have a lot of underemployed or people who have taken themselves out of the job market. Hardest hit probably for at least some of those white-collar workers are those that are probably more seasoned workers, people probably in their late 50s that still have a lot of time to give back, that want to work, but for one reason or another maybe have been feel like they've been shut out of the job market. Maybe they were a high-cost employee at the time, they made a lot of money, and now that it's harder to find those jobs. So we really are working with a certain group, sort of the seasoned professionals, to try to make sure that you do the right things, not to set yourself up. You know, I use the example a lot of times is, you know, don't set yourself up as someone that won't change. If you walk into a meeting, you're in front of a hiring manager who's younger, walking in with a daytimer and maybe not a smartphone sends a message. It's very subtle. Or having emails. I had one person that had an email that said, hotgrandma@hotmail.com. So we really try to work with people one-on-one to make sure that they aren't sending the wrong message to an employer so they don't stand out in the wrong way.
Can you tell me about some success stories?
Sure. From the employer side, you know, there was a Siemens example earlier. We've worked with companies like ABB, even Chiquita. When they did the move, we helped them with 3 lines of their business expand here in Charlotte. We did a job fair and a web portal for them, and over 200 people were invited out that were the sort of best of the best that we saw and that they wanted to talk to, and had a whole day that they got to meet with senior level executives, have interviews, and they hired a lot of the folks that were in our system. So we're real excited. The nice part of working with the employers is, even though for the Siemens example, 10,000 people applied, not all got hired. Same with Chiquita. We had several thousand and only a few hundred were able to make it in the door. We take that database and we look at it and we showcase that talent in front of other employers. We've had a lot of small employers that come looking for 2, 3, 4 employees, that we look at that database and we pull those people out and ask them if we can share their information with other employers, and often they say yes, and that leads to a job.
That's fantastic. What other thoughts do you have? What other improvements can we make to make life better for those who are not only seeking work, but those who may want to get some skills training while they already have a job to prepare them for a future?
Right. And our website has some great tools on it at charlotteworks.com. If you're thinking the healthcare energy sector, it really maps out exactly what you need skill set wise to move up the career ladder. And we're going to add several more industries this year, including IT, tourism, transportation logistics, and advanced manufacturing. So we've got some exciting ways that people can learn. If I am hearing a lot in the news about energy, how do I take advantage of that, and what do I need to go into those fields? But the biggest need out there is really information. Every time I see someone walk in our door that's been unemployed 6, 7, 8 months and say, I wish I knew about you guys 3 months ago. It's because even though people are still hurting out there, there's a lack of information of where to go. And so we're always out there talking to people, but the more people can share information about there is help, that you're not alone, and especially during the holidays, that there's hope, there's a place to go, that people will help you every way we can.
One last question. I know that there's been an effort to put SNAP sites all across the community. Can you talk about the effort to literally take the workforce development system into our neighborhoods?
Right. I mean, we delivered our services mainly in 2 centers, but we realized that, as Charlotte expands, it's sometimes difficult and a burden to get on 2 or 3 buses to make it to our location or drive 20 miles. And so we wanted to bring our services to the people. And so we partnered currently with 26 faith-based and community-based organizations to provide resources in their own backyard. We'll add 14 more of the SNAP sites, which stands for a Shared Network Access Point, to other communities, so that when you look at a map of Charlotte, there's hopefully a dot saying there's a SNAP site in your own backyard no matter where you live. And so that's one of the innovative ways we're trying to get more resources out into the community. Another is volunteers. We're always looking for good volunteers to give back, because part of our model, which is unique, is that we take the best of the best out there. We don't just teach these classes that happen every day. We get volunteers from corporate America. We even get some unemployed who are looking to stay busy while they job search, to teach the classes, to be coaches, and to run our job teams. So it's a great way to give back as well if you're looking for something during the holidays.
Thank you, Steve Partridge from Charlotte Works. This is Anthony Foxx. It's great being with you on The Point. Thank you for joining us on this segment.